Jake, you had started
Okay.
to say you hadn't seen Noah. I got some shit to talk about Noah. I would love to bash Noah.
Oh, I wish I hadn't watched Noah.
It begins. When they come, they will be desperate, and there will be many.
So here's the thing. This is what I came away with after watching Noah. I said, hold on. The real reason I hate this movie is because I'm familiar with the Noah story from the Bible. So I thought to myself, I said, if this was presented as just like a sci-fi fantasy epic story,
Yeah.
it's not nearly as bad. But it's because I know the story and I know where they're getting like everything wrong,
Yeah.
but purposefully. It's not like they didn't know, because I mean,
Come
it's
on.
literally written down in the most influential book ever written in the history of mankind. So it's not hard to find. But like, they created a character that didn't exist. They make Noah the world's biggest asshole for no reason.
Okay.
No reason.
Let me offer an alternative perspective. So, okay. My favorite moment in this movie is not in the movie itself, but when we watched it for the first time, and two old ladies sat in front of us, and they uttered the words "stone angels," and they both looked at each other and went "nope," and got up and left.
Nope.
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 I will never forget it. It was so funny.
I had a similar reaction. I'm just like, well, because when they said Cain, and like, okay, it'd been a minute since I went through and read Genesis, but I'm like, I don't think Cain went and hung out with a bunch of angels. That doesn't sound. So that's when I grabbed my Bible and I read it. And I'm like, nope, nope. Like this. This did not happen. Like, this did not happen in the story.
Talk about loving movies because they're bad. I love this movie because it's bad. Like, I love the insane rock angels, and I love how Noah's just a psychopath for the back. He's like, I'm gonna stab that baby.
If you should bear a girl, in the moment of her birth, I will cut her down.
Like, just you wait. I'm gonna
But
stab
that's what I'm
that
saying.
baby.
If you take away the biblical context, though, and one thing I did like is that they never said the word God. They always said the Creator, which I imagine, again, if you put this on like another planet in a fantasy setting and eliminate, like, if you could erase my knowledge of the Bible and show me this movie, I probably would have liked it quite a bit more. Because I'm like, yeah, I can wrap my head around this if I don't have the prior knowledge of, because I mean, the plausibility of supernatural beings coming down to Earth and being punished to do it is not a foreign concept. It's just the fact that I'm familiar with the book of Genesis, and I know that that is not what is in the book of Genesis.
Fair,
And secondly,
fair enough.
if you're going to start the movie by reciting essentially Genesis 1, you could at least recite Genesis 1 and not
Fair
fuck it up.
Be accurate.
It's
mean,
literally written for you, and it's in the public domain. You have no excuse. You don't need to change a word for copyright reasons.
I will say I did enjoy the idea of like, oh, does Noah actually talk to God, or is he just like mentally ill? Like I did enjoy that like idea of like the question of like he's saying some outlandish things here.
See, okay. So that's the other thing that bothered me is like God is ostensibly talking to Noah through visions, one of which is drug induced from the tea, right? And I'm over here like, no, the Bible's pretty clear that God just says things to him.
Yeah.
Like, so again, if you're following Genesis, it's kind of like, I really like the way the Prince of Egypt did it because, fun fact, God speaks to Moses.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I didn't really care for that. And the whole, like, so the second half of the movie doesn't need to exist either. Like, this is just, like, once they get on the boat, that should be the end. But no, that's the fucking halfway point.
Right.
There's way more that happens. But the bulk of the ending is, like you said, the whole back and forth of, like, Noah, whether or not Noah's going to stab the baby. And I'm just like,
I'm going to stab that baby.
But here's the thing, and this is what, going back to the whole, like, is it predestined or not? So my thought is, though, if it's established that God is all powerful in this movie, right? So if God allowed a woman who was barren to get pregnant, my first thought would be like, oh, clearly this is what he had in mind.
That right? You would
It's
think,
a miracle.
right? If it's
Yeah.
you would think.
I'm just kind of, so maybe, like, it doesn't make God look particularly good in this movie.
No.
Like, it's like, yeah, I let this woman believe that she was never going to have children, so much so at one point she urges Noah to find a wife for the man she loves because she doesn't want him to not have children, allows her to have children, and then I'm going to have my prophet guy just stab them because no babies. It's like,
You don't want to stab
this
that baby.
seems... This I'm gonna stab.
Stab that baby.
But then it's like the whole movie. He's like, I will do what he says no matter what. I will do what he says no matter what. And then he's like, I can't. I'm like, okay. So, I'm glad you came to that conclusion, but you could have come to that conclusion 9 months earlier when you found out she was pregnant. Like,
I mean, and
plus Emma Watson's in it, so fuck that movie.
And also Russell Crowe is just generally bad in it. That's.
Oh, and then not even to mention the fact that they're vegetarians.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Which makes they never explicitly come out and say it, but they imply it heavily because it won't, like the armadillo dog thing. And I'm just like, you guys do realize that Abel, in the Bible, the first second son of Adam and Eve, was a shepherd who raised sheep for the slaughter. At no point were they anti-killing animals ever.
I guess
ever.
because I guess because in the screenplay someone went, well, they can't have them eat the animals on the boat. That would be mean. Probably, if I had to guess.
Except for those of you who have read the good book, God commands Noah, and there are different versions, but God commands Noah. There's one point where he says 2 of each animal. There's another later on that says certain numbers, but I remember 7. So that's 2 of the animal plus 5 that can be sacrificed and or eaten.
Man, I
of the clean animals that are suitable. But yeah, so that's a fun fact. That would be why. So there's no point in that story where it says. However, there are points in the biblical story where it says that killing other people is wrong, and Noah wastes several people directly by his own hand, not to mention just letting people die. He actually kills a fair amount of people with his 2 bare hands.
I mean, he also threatens to stab the baby. I'm pretty sure that's a sin. I'm pretty sure God would generally disapprove of someone stabbing a baby.
I don't well, stabbing, yes, but I don't think threatening to stab is necessarily a sin.
Oh, well, all right then.
And keep in mind though, which just makes no sense because technically the law had not been written yet. So the world needing to be purged doesn't really make any sense because technically speaking, they haven't broken the law because the law hasn't been written yet.
Interesting.
But that's me questioning the Bible, which I know you're not supposed to do, but
I mean, we question stuff around here. That's what we do. And we do it publicly.
Atheism.
Atheism. that well, I mean, if we're going full bore atheist. I believe that Jesus Christ Superstar is the most atheist movie ever constructed. I stand by that.
Yes, it absolutely is.
Do you watch Young Sheldon? Like at all?
I'm not finished it yet. I'm in season 3.
Okay, there's a bit, I don't know what season it's in, but there's a bit where you get to see where Meemaw finds out the rental history of all the people in town, and you see that one of
I haven't seen that yet.
well, there's a bit where you see that the top movie that Pastor Jeff has rented is Jesus Christ Superstar, which is mind-boggling to me because like, it is the most atheist movie I've ever watched. Like that's a pretty anti-Jesus movie if you're paying attention. Just putting that out there.
I mean, I don't know. It's not particularly friendly to King Herod either, but
no, not it's a pretty pro Judas movie.
But it shouldn't have, because when you're talking about stabbing babies,
yeah, exactly.
Part of your Broadway World podcast just says yes.
Exactly. I'm guessing she's agreeing with me with my take about Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
I'm guessing yes.
I don't know if you're familiar with the comedian Tim Minchin, But he had a really good point when he was playing Judas, where he was like, yeah, Judas is in a bad position because either free will exists and he's choosing to screw over his friend, or he has no free will. And
see, that is actually one of the things that I don't argue. I should say I discuss with people that are Christians. So I'm like, where do you stand on Judas then? Because if it weren't for Judas, it wouldn't have happened.
Exactly.
They're like, I'm like, so Judas is technically a hero, and I still maintain that in the narrative of the scripture, Jesus knows what's going to happen and understands that Judas is playing his role. There's several instances throughout the Gospels where it's alluded to, well, and sometimes outright stated, that Jesus knows what's going to happen. Like he even says to Peter, you will deny me thrice, and, one of you will, sell me out, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, Judas isn't a bad guy. Judas is fulfilling one of the most important parts of what needs to happen, and for the whole shebang to go down.
Yeah.
Part of your Broadway world says, yes, don't we make this point in the podcast episode we did, Justin?
I believe I did. I believe I did say it. I don't know if I specifically said that it was the most. Maybe I did. I honestly don't remember. I know we talked about Jesus Christ Superstar. I don't remember if I called it the. But I do believe that movie blew my mind when I watched it the first time with how pro Judas it was. I was like, it's really sympathetic to Judas, and like my whole like understanding of Judas is that he's pretty synonymous with betrayal, and he's like the most classic bad guy in all of like, so like to be like, oh, maybe he had a point.
At two Brutus.
Yeah, but
at two Judas.